Hey everybody, welcome back. Movie review time. We geek out about a movie we just saw, and we just saw the new live action, The Lion King.
Did you throw a few more air quotes
right?
in there?
Yeah. But just saw. We it was an early screening, so we went to dinner and walked around and played HQ. So it's been like an hour or so. But this is gonna be our no spoiler review. We're just gonna take a couple minutes, give you our overall thoughts and opinions on this movie, and we will have a spoiler video. It'll probably be out sometime tomorrow if you want to get more details about what we thought about this. So there'll be a link in the description, all that stuff once it's live. And we don't consider ourselves movie critics. We're just people that like movies and like to talk about movies, especially me. And yeah, so before we jump into our review of The Lion King, I do want to point out, and I know I can hear a lot of you being like, what? When I say, I've never seen the original Lion King.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, she did. And of course we made the decision that it would make the review more interesting if I just see this before seeing the original, and then she can do the comparing. Yeah. And, you know, so just giving you that context. And for those of you wondering how I never saw The Lion King, most of my regulars know, but if you're new here, you should know, I grew up watching horror movies. I grew up watching Evil Dead, Phantasm, Halloween, Friday the 13th, all that stuff. So, you know, I was watching stuff. I don't want to put down people that like Disney, because that's way more people, and I get it. Mm-hmm. So my thoughts real quick on this movie. There's a ladybug inside. It's behind up there.
I see it.
So if it flies in front of the lens, you know what's up. Mm-hmm. So my thoughts on this are, it's about what I expected. I really enjoyed the live action Jungle Book. I liked it better than this, and we'll get into some of the issues. You know, especially once we get into spoilers. And I'm gonna have to turn the AC back on in a minute. It's already getting hot in here. Ladybug, don't get to that light; it'll burn you. So I'm left kind of somewhere in the middle on it. I'm like, you know, it was okay. The pacing is great. It's beautiful looking, but yeah. So how'd you feel?
Here's the thing, the
Ladybug is on the light.
Yeah, the visually it's a gorgeous movie, but I'm not sure it actually works as a musical, because where all the faces and everything are real, the numbers just feel kind of weird. Yeah,
and I think that's definitely a hindrance from you know, the anime to the live action.
I'm not sure if any of the new arrangements are any better. Like the score, they used pretty much the same score. That was fine. That's
like
fantastic.
That. Okay.
But the actual musical numbers, where they, you know, changed it up a little bit and everything, I'm like, I'm not sure any of these are actually better than the original. Yeah,
I was kind of eye rolling a bit.
I was really
at some
underwhelmed
of the
with Be Prepared, and that's like one of my favorites from.
Ah.
I love a good villain song.
Ah.
And Jeremy Irons just does it so well, because he just drips.
So was he Scar in this one or in the animated?
In the animated one.
Okay.
That name I cannot pronounce to save my life. It's Ejiofor.
I can't. I know the name you're talking about, but
was he like 12 Years a Slave?
Okay, all right.
I think that.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, I didn't think any of that really stood out to me. None of the characters really stood out to me.
Well, I did love John Oliver as Zazu.
See, I didn't, because it was way too John Oliver. I just, you know, I can suspend my disbelief, but it wasn't working here.
That is pretty much the character.
Yeah, I mean, he may have got the character right, but all I could hear is John Oliver being John Oliver.
That's true.
I didn't really get anything different from that. Now, this thing is crazy. Sorry if I just flung it in your face. Here, Mary, you deal with it. Just a reaction.
Ladybug, you're safer with me.
Yeah, you probably are. But yeah, I did. The movie did. I mean, it was a little dull in places for me, just because I wasn't engaged with it. Like, I know. Listen, again, you got to take any of my negatives. If you're a Disney fan, you're probably not going to have some of the same negatives, or at least not as much as me, just because, again, Disney stuff, I can appreciate it, but I never really enjoy it. I haven't found any of those Disney classic movies that I like just fall in love with yet, you know? So for me, it dragged in a couple of places. I was surprised it was 2 hours long, though, because it did feel like it was only 90 minutes.
They do expand some things a little bit.
Yeah, and I think one of my biggest issues that I have with this movie, and I can say it without any spoilers, and I'm sure this is probably the problem in the cartoon, and the more I think about it, the more this is my problem with a lot of Disney films. You don't really see much of a character's journey, per se. Like, it's like things just happen, like time passes, things happen, they need the character to do this, somebody shows up, they do it, you know, like you don't see them learning lessons, you don't see them living through life that then informs the decisions and choices they make later. It's like all that stuff just happened off screen.
Actually, I think they do that fairly well in Frozen.
Okay, well, I was talking more classic Disney.
Okay.
The modern stuff, I do think the storytelling is much better. Because you're right, I really enjoy Frozen. I still can't say I love Frozen, but but again, that's more modernized storytelling. So I'm talking about all the classic Disney tales, where they were going more for that fairy tale thing. Which again, is just where they're beholden to the original stuff. It's kind of a thing. But the movie definitely picked up a lot for me when Timon and Pumbaa showed up. And anytime they're on the screen, I found it a way more enjoyable movie than when they're not.
They're like little G-Red Deadpools because they break the fourth wall so much.
Yeah, even I caught a couple of things that, like, even without knowing the original, I'm like, I'm pretty sure that was a new little joke to throw in there. So there are some little bits and pieces like that. And again, like I said, the CG is pretty fantastic. Especially all that fur is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It's definitely like there's landscapes and all that.
Yeah,
Very beautiful film.
Yeah, I mean it's extremely faux real. There's only like a few times where they were trying to like get the animals to emote, and you're like, that doesn't look right.
Yeah, which again is also part of the problem, and I've heard other people say this, and I have to agree that it's true. Is because again, if it's a cartoon, you can get way more expressive in the faces. Mm-hmm. There's a certain latitude with how crazy you can take things. Whereas trying to go more grounded realism here hinders the characters, and some of the characters, like some of those lady lions.
Yeah.
They all look alike. So it's like, I don't know which lady... Like, there was a part in the movie I got confused, and I thought, wait, is there incest happening here? We'll talk more about that in spoilers.
Yes, we will.
Because it's not the case. It's not the case, I've been informed. But I did have a moment in the movie
Actually, no, you didn't let me finish explaining to you.
Well, I was saving it for spoilers. I figure we'll have that discussion in the video, was my plan.
All right, so anywho.
But yeah... And, I mean, again, if you don't know the story, you can figure out the story watching the movie. It's hard for me to talk about some of this stuff from a place of somebody who hasn't seen the original, but which I will see now. I bought a Blu-ray a while back. I just wanted to see this first and see. Maybe
I think you're going like the animated version better, in all honesty.
Well, I think it'll work better because, again, I think this story and the material is meant for animation. They didn't change enough to make it a live-action thing.
Jungle Book, effectively the same thing except with one human character, basically.
Which, of course, helps with getting connected because, we connect to humans more than animals typically.
But at the same time, it wasn't trying to be a musical. I mean, it did have 2 musical numbers, but Bare Necessities, I don't know if it really counts because it was just a half-assed little, it wasn't a full-blown musical number. It was just a couple folks just goofing around.
Right.
But when King Louie does I Want to Be Like You, and that is a full-blown musical number, that's the point of the movie going like, this doesn't quite fit in.
I mean, I think it worked a little bit there more just because, like, logically, here you are in this other crazy, you went into this other crazy area, crazy people, whatever, so I can default it there, or not fault it there. Here,
I still love that scene, but at the same time, it doesn't quite fit in.
Yeah, and here, I think, again, they were just tiptoeing. Like, it's almost they're indecisive. They can't decide, are we going to go musical or are we not? And they went a little further musical with this. They didn't go enough to really do it. They
very gently eased almost every single musical number. We're going, are we? Okay, I guess we're doing this now.
Yeah, and I didn't really feel that all the musical numbers felt very clinical. There was it didn't feel like any kind of real passion behind the singing or everything. Everything felt just super overly polished. And just,
I don't know how much of that was maybe Pharrell Williams.
It could be, because I like a lot of his stuff, but not all of his stuff, so that's very well possible.
Because I think he was in charge of all the music.
He was kind of helping update everything. So actually I think I like some of the songs in the end credits more than anything in the movie, to be honest. And Seth Rogen's pretty good as Pumbaa. And I was joking after her Deadpool comment about wouldn't it be funny if they let Seth Rogen be R-rated in this PG movie? Because, it's like he could have very easily.
Oh, I'm sure there's some wonderful outtakes out there.
But there's tons of adorableness in this. It's very awe-inspiring, not in a different way.
Like when Simba's a kitten, he's like, "Aw."
Yeah, especially his little attempts at roaring and stuff like that initially. So, yeah. Yeah. Beyonce did well. I don't know if she's done much in acting before, or at least maybe not in voice work or whatever, but I thought she worked that character very well.
Yeah. I'm not sure she's done any acting before.
Yeah.
Other than her music videos.
Right, yeah, but I was talking more in like mainstream film, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it really just comes down to how much of a Disney fan you are Like, how much you love this movie is really going to be a factor. And some of you are going to love the original so much that you're going to hate this, so that's going to be a thing, too.
I think to a
Just
certain
'cause it's
degree,
not the
it's safe
original.
to say that this is just different.
It is.
There's pros and cons to it.
And you know, I think the thing to consider is that maybe this isn't as much meant for the old audience. It's not meant to be the nostalgia trip, like let's bring back the people who love the original. This is more meant to be... That's a hell of a beetle. More meant to be an entry point for like the younger children. So I was trying to imagine that while I was watching it. Like if I was a young kid and this was the first time I'd ever experienced this, I think it's a whole different ball game for them. And I do wonder if the end is almost... I'm surprised we didn't hear more crying children by the end for it being a little more terrifying, because it's, especially in animation, it's probably not as harsh, the ending, as it feels in live action, without getting into details about what's going on.
I'm trying to remember, but I think it played out about the same.
That's what I'm saying, but because it's more photoreal and feels more real world, realistic, it might be a little more horrifying for children. I don't know, animation seems to make that kind of stuff a little more palatable. I'm just guessing. I'm not young enough to know anymore.
They kind of cut away, so...
Yeah, well, again, we can talk more in spoilers about it. I
Yeah.
was just getting the general idea out. But anyways, that's what we think about Lion King. So if you want to check out our spoiler video, we'll get more discussion, more in-depth discussion over there, and I run the AC and you'll hear the rumble of the car, sorry. But yeah, so other than that, I guess stay out of the comments if you don't want spoilers, because sometimes people just spoil. Sometimes not always mean, not intentionally, but it happens. Otherwise, you can tell us if you just kind of agree or whatnot, or if you're planning on going, or how excited you are, all that kind of stuff. So comment away, let us know. Other than that, you can click the thumbs up button, give us that good old thumb of encouragement, as we do love to be encouraged. And now we're going to get out of here so we can go talk some spoilers and watch some more stuff. We'll see you all later.